There was a time when a chair was just a chair, plain as the formica on a rental kitchen counter. A table was just a table. A woman leaving was just a woman leaving, her taillights fading down some anonymous street, while the man left behind told himself it was only silence. Back then, the world had hard edges. Pain meant pain. Rejection meant rejection. He hadn't exactly loved that world, but at least it stayed where he put it. Now everything moved. He sat under the cheap yellow glare of that sad overhead fixture, the kind landlords slap up in apartments where quiet men come to quietly disintegrate, and stared at the tarot cards splayed across the kitchen table like some battlefield report from a war no one else could see. Softened corners from too many anxious shuffles. Archetypes glowing faintly under the light. Next to them, the laptop sat open, paused on some physicist yammering about observation collapsing probability waves. 6 more tabs waited below like digital carrion. Simulation theory, quantum consciousness, twin flames and karmic debt. Non-local woo. Why death might be optional. The notebook beside his elbow bulged with dates, dreams, spreads, timestamps. Coincidences a sane man would once have flicked away like lint. He felt the room tilt behind his eyes. The kind of slow internal shift where every possible explanation stands up at once and refuses to sit back down. He had a name for it now. Cognitive vertigo. It had started with her, of course. Everything embarrassing in a man's life begins with a woman or God, and in his case, the two had tangled so thoroughly he could no longer tell whether he had fallen in love, awakened, lost his mind, or been drafted into some cosmic customer retention program. She had been the divine masculine, though she would have laughed that brittle laugh of hers at the phrase. A woman with the exit already mapped. Loving at a distance. Aching in private. Vanishing the second intimacy threatened to become flesh and blood. He had been the divine feminine, God help him. A man in a man's body carrying the receptive wound, the open nerve, the stupid, loyal heart that didn't know when to stop standing in front of a locked door. When she left, he collapsed in ways men aren't supposed to collapse. Then the cards found him. Or he found them. That distinction had grown slippery. At first, they saved him. He could admit that now. They told him the silence wasn't the end, that she was scared, healing, awakening behind the veil, that the separation was sacred refinement. And for a while he believed, because he needed to believe. A crumb dropped and he built cathedrals. A silence appeared and he explained it for her like a scholar of pain. Then they began to be right, and the dread crept in low and familiar, the way old floorboards creak in an empty house at 3 a.m. A card warned of conflict. Conflict came. A spread pointed toward money. Money arrived. A reader mentioned communication. A message appeared. He fought to keep coincidence alive. Good old honest probability, the last honest thing in the old world. But coincidence started feeling too small. Then came the accidents, each one landing like a quiet knock on the door he no longer wanted to answer. One reader warned his ex-wife needed to drive carefully. Not catastrophe, just impact. Metal. Sudden disruption. 6 months later, she wrecked her car on a rain-slicked curve he could picture too clearly. Another reading circled the same language around the woman he once called his twin flame. Vehicles. Collision. Force. Months later, another accident. Her car crumpled against a guardrail in the kind of ordinary Tuesday evening that makes a man stare at the ceiling for hours. Then the truck. A spread warned of mechanical trouble around his own vehicle. Repairs. Instability. Then, strangely, replacement. New keys. Movement forward. He laughed at that one. Buying another truck would have been financial suicide. But the problems started anyway. Scratched windows so clouded he could barely see through them on bright days. The air conditioning long dead. Water leaking steadily from the radiator. Fuel pump failures that left him stranded more than once. One damn thing after another, until the repairs felt like accusations he couldn't outrun. Months later, he was driving home in a different truck, with temporary tags flapping in the wind. 14 years newer than the one he traded in, and $10,000 cheaper than what he had originally paid for the old beast. Good commerce, he told himself. Solid numbers. The kind of deal a man in the old world would have shaken hands on without a second thought. That was when coincidence stopped feeling intellectually respectable. The deeper he went, the darker the feeds became. At first, the reading spoke of healing, reunion, divine timing. Then the tone shifted. Hidden hostility, energetic interference. Things his ex never wanted him to know. Readers who had never met each other kept circling back to entries he'd once found in her journals. Candlework, intentions, what she herself called black magic. He had dismissed it then as emotional theatre. Now the cards wouldn't let it go. The overlap sat in his mind like broken glass. He kept shutting the videos off. He didn't want to turn ordinary human wreckage into demons and soul contracts. He didn't want to become one of the wounded converting pain into mythology. Yet the prophecies refused to stay still. Love was always coming, always delayed, always waiting on the other side of the next purge, the next lesson, the next timeline shift. First it wore her face. Then, when he finally stopped waiting, when the thought of reunion filled him with disgust instead of longing, the story simply changed clothes. Someone new, someone soft where she had been sharp. Someone aligned. Divine timing, of course. No date. Never a date. Just the same perfume sprayed over a different corpse. The betrayal sharpened there. The cards never apologized. They simply updated the prophecy. And yet he couldn't hate the furnace completely, because the furnace had worked. It had burned the psychological and spiritual weenie out of him. The boundaryless man, the crumb cathedral builder, the one who mistook anxiety for destiny. It taught him what manipulation looked like without the romance. It taught him boundaries, nervous system regulation, the clean weight of silence. Now he could actually love someone well. The sick joke was that it had removed the person he wanted to love with it. "You taught me how to love correctly," he whispered to the empty room, after removing the person I wanted to love. The laptop screen dimmed. He tapped the trackpad and woke it. The physicist was still talking about observation and waves. Underneath waited the rest of the labyrinth. Reincarnation mechanics. Why death is an illusion. Consciousness fields. The internet didn't resolve anything. It monetized the vertigo. Every expert, physicist, tarot reader, mystic with a ring light and houseplant, spoke with unbearable certainty. Every answer opened another door. Even death had gone slippery. Suicide wasn't violence anymore. It was just a door in a burning hallway. But now, even that door wouldn't hold still. Religion, simulation theory, quantum immortality. Everything in superposition. He put his hands over his face. There was one reading he could never forget. The reader sounded almost afraid. She is begging you to wait for her. She knows she is behind. Please wait. For months, that sentence burned in his chest like a coal. At first, it kept him loyal, then trapped, then furious. Now, sitting at the table with the cards and the physics and the whole stupid universe refusing to confess, the sentence turned. Maybe the one who was behind had been him. The part still trapped in panic, the part that couldn't live without being chosen, the part still trying to catch up to the man the furnace had made. Please wait for me. He lowered his hands. The room didn't become holy. No answer arrived. God didn't apologize. But something inside him stopped leaning forward. He gathered the cards, squared their edges with a soft snap, and slid them into the drawer. Then he closed the laptop. For the first time in 2 years, the house felt almost quiet. The vertigo didn't vanish, it simply settled, low and watchful, the way an old dog finally stops pacing the floor at night. The furnace had done its job. The new man was still walking out of it.